Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves
Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bomb on the WNBA landscape, and this time the fallout might actually change the trajectory of professional women's basketball forever. Just as images surfaced of Caitlin Clark taking over Nike headquarters in Oregon to finalize her historic signature line, the WNBA Players Association made a move that shocked the sports world. They decided to pull the plug on their current contract. It looks like a coordinated power play, but according to Stephen A., it's actually a massive display of resentment that could backfire spectacularly. The timing is simply too suspicious to be a coincidence. You have the league's brightest star securing her financial future independently, while the rest of the league scrambles to rewrite the rules to get a piece of the pie she baked. Insiders are saying the rage behind the scenes is real, and the jealousy we've seen all season is about to manifest in a brutal boardroom war. Let's get right into the chaos of the situation, because the implications here are massive. The WNBA Players Association has officially opted out of their collective bargaining agreement 2 years early. For those who don't follow the business side of sports, this is the nuclear option. This isn't just a minor renegotiation or a request for better hotels. This is the players tearing up the entire rule book and demanding a completely new financial reality. They looked at the record-breaking ratings, the sold-out arenas, and the media frenzy that defined the season, and they decided they weren't getting a big enough slice of the revenue. They want to strike while the iron is hot. But here is where it gets incredibly sticky. The league has been losing money for decades. Reports suggest roughly $50 million a year in losses until very recently. The sudden influx of cash and attention is almost entirely tied to one rookie class, and more specifically, one player. Yet the demands coming from the veteran players suggest they believe this money was overdue regardless of the new eyes on the product. By opting out now, they are forcing the owners to the table with a gun to their heads, threatening a work stoppage if they don't get equity, higher salaries, and better benefits immediately. It's a high-risk gamble that assumes the popularity of the WNBA is permanent, rather than a wave driven by a specific phenomenon. While the union was busy drafting legal documents to demand more cash from the league, Caitlin Clark was making money moves that have nothing to do with a collective bargaining agreement. In a moment that perfectly illustrates the divide in the WNBA, Clark was recently spotted at Nike World headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon. She wasn't there for a tour. She was there to work. Reports indicate she is deep in the design process for her signature shoe, the Nike Caitlin 1, and looking at upcoming apparel lines. This visit represents everything the rest of the league is chasing: true market value. Clark isn't waiting for a union rep to negotiate her worth. She is generating her own economy. The deal she signed with Nike is rumored to be worth $28 million over 8 years, which dwarfs her actual WNBA salary. This creates a fascinating split-screen moment. On one side, you have a player driving the business forward with global brands, creating products that will sell out in seconds. On the other side, you have a league of players opting out of their contracts to try and capture the value that she created. The optics of this are undeniable. It highlights that while the league is fighting over crumbs, Clark is baking the whole cake. It also fuels the narrative that the resentment toward her isn't just about basketball. It's about the financial gap that is rapidly widening between the chosen one and everyone else. Stephen A. Smith did not hold back when addressing this dynamic on his show. He essentially confirmed what many fans have suspected since the first week of the season. There is a legitimate, palpable rage bubbling under the surface of the WNBA. He pointed out the hypocrisy of players who have spent months throwing shade at Clark, physically on the court and verbally on podcasts, now turning around and using her metrics to leverage a better paycheck. Smith warned that you simply cannot have it both ways. You can't treat the golden goose like an outsider, haze her at every opportunity, and then expect to feast on the golden eggs she lays. Smith argues that the veterans are miscalculating their leverage. They seem to think the league's success is a result of their collective hard work over the last 20 years. While their effort laid the foundation, the business reality is that the exponential growth curve only started when Clark arrived. Stephen A. emphasized that the owners know this. The TV networks know this. Nike knows this. The only people who seem to be in denial are the players who are angry that the spotlight and the money aren't being distributed equally. He called it a case of envy masquerading as fairness, and he warned that if the players push too hard, public sentiment is going to turn against them. To understand why this new agreement negotiation is going to be so hostile, we have to look back at the season that led us here. The narrative of jealousy isn't something Stephen A. Smith invented out of thin air. We watched it play out in 4K resolution, though we saw the hard fouls like the hip check from Kennedy Carter that had nothing to do with basketball. We saw the dismissive comments from legends like Cheryl Swoops, who seemed allergic to giving Clark credit for her records, even going so far as to arguably misrepresent stats to downplay her impact. We saw the constant rookie wake-up calls that looked less like competition and more like hazing. This behavior created a toxic environment that alienated a lot of the new fans. These fans tuned in to see Caitlin Clark, and what they saw was a league that seemed hostile to its own savior. Now those same players who participated in or condoned that behavior are asking for a massive raise based on the revenue those alienated fans provided. It's a paradox. They want the private flights, the million-dollar salaries, and the respect that comes with being a major league, but they haven't stopped the petty infighting that turns off the casual viewer. Stephen A. Smith's point is simple. You can't bite the hand that feeds you and then ask for a second helping. The rage he describes is the realization that no matter how hard they play, the market has chosen its superstar, and it wasn't one of the veterans. Now the details of what the players actually want are starting to leak, and the list is aggressive. Reports suggest the union is pushing for a completely new economic model. They aren't just asking for a percentage bump. They want a fundamental change in how the business operates. We're talking about players wanting equity in the league itself, meaning they want to own a piece of the WNBA. They are also demanding massive increases in the salary cap, guaranteed chartered flights for every game, which cost millions, and enhanced benefits for childcare and retirement. On the surface, these sound like reasonable requests for professional athletes. But when you look at the balance sheet, it's a different story. The WNBA has been subsidized by the NBA for decades. The league simply hasn't generated the profit to justify these demands in the past. The players are banking on the idea that the Clark effect is the new normal. They are projecting that the ratings will stay this high forever. But what if they don't? What if fans get tired of the drama and tune out? The leaked demands show a disconnect between the old guard, who feel they paved the way and deserve back pay, and the cold business reality that the money is flowing specifically because of the new era. It's a classic case of wanting the rewards without acknowledging the source. This situation brings us to the most uncomfortable part of the story, the golden goose paradox. The WNBA players are in a position where their financial future depends entirely on a person many of them seem to dislike. It's a bizarre dynamic. Every time Angel Reese or another rival takes a shot at Clark in the media, they are technically damaging the brand they are trying to milk for money. Stephen A. Smith highlighted this contradiction perfectly. He noted that if you want NBA-level salaries, you need NBA-level behavior, which includes protecting your assets.